The rain had just stopped in the small town of Nsuka, leaving the earth soaked and the air heavy with the smell of wet dust. Ada sat quietly by her window, staring into the misty horizon. She was a woman in her mid-30s, strong on the outside but fragile within. Her life had been shaped by grief, a grief carved deep into her soul since that night, 20 years ago, when her parents were murdered in cold blood. She had been only 15, hiding under the bed as footsteps thundered across her home. She remembered the scream of her mother, the silence that followed, and then the sharp, cruel laughter of a man whose face she never saw clearly. That night had stayed with her, haunting her dreams, whispering in her ears every time she closed her eye. Now, Ada lived alone. Marriage had passed her by, not because she was unwanted, but because her heart had never healed enough to truly love. Yet beneath her sorrow lay a longing, an ache for family, for someone to call her own. It was this ache that led her to the orphanage. Rows of children sat in faded uniforms, their eyes carrying untold stories. Among them, one boy stood apart. He was about 8 years old, small for his age, his skin smooth, his gaze sharp, almost unsettling. His name was Chika. When Ada first looked into his eyes, something flickered deep within her chest, a strange mix of warmth and unease. He stared back with an intensity far beyond his years, as if he already knew her, as if he was waiting. "Auntie," he said softly, "will you take me home?" The words pierced her heart. Without hesitation, Ada signed the papers and took the boy into her life. At first, joy filled her world again. She cooked for him, dressed him for school, listened to his laughter echo through the house. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of belonging. Her neighbors whispered blessings upon her for her kindness, and Ada, for a fleeting while, believed she had found peace. But then the shadows began to return. Some nights, Ada would wake to find Chika standing by her bedroom door, watching her silently, his face calm, his eyes unblinking. She would ask him why, and he would only reply, "I couldn't sleep." Other times, his words carried a sharpness that pierced her spirit. Once, when she scolded him for breaking a plate, he looked at her and said, "You sound just like your mother." Ada froze. She had never told him about her mother. "Chika," she whispered. "How do you know about her?" The boy only smiled. The unease grew heavier. Little things, his laughter that sometimes turned into a deep chuckle far too old for his voice, his way of describing places he had never been, and the look in his eyes that reminded her of a memory she could not place. Then one night, the past returned with a vengeance. Ada dreamt again of that night, the blood, the screams, the laughter. But this time, the dream was different. She saw the man's face clearly, a tall figure with a scar across his jaw, his eyes cold, merciless. And then, as the man turned, his face melted, shifting into the innocent face of Chika. Ada woke up trembling, her body drenched in sweat. She turned to find Chika sitting at the foot of her bed, his small hands folded neatly, his lips curled in a quiet smile. "You saw me," he said. Her heart thundered. "Saw? You?" He nodded. "I told you I couldn't sleep. That night, your parents begged me. They cried. But I did what I had to do." Ada's breath caught in her throat. The boy's voice was steady, but in it, she heard the echo of the laughter that had haunted her for decades. "No," she whispered, her body shaking. "No. You're just a child. You can't." "I am not just a child," Chika interrupted, his gaze piercing into her soul. "I have lived before, and I came back." Tears burned Ada's eyes as the truth clawed its way into her heart. The boy she'd loved, the boy she had called her son, was the reincarnation of the monster who had shattered her world. Yet, even in her terror, her arms could not push him away. He was a murderer reborn, but he was also a child, innocent, vulnerable, needing love. Ada fell to her knees, torn between rage and mercy, between the past and the present. Her tears fell on the boy's small hands as she whispered, "God, why him? Why me?" Chika leaned closer, resting his head on his shoulder, his voice chilling and tender at once. "Because we are bound, Ada. You and I. Forever." And in that moment, she realized her life would never be the same. The story of Ada and Chika was not one of simple love or forgiveness. It was the story of a woman forced to embrace the child she longed for, even as she carried the unbearable weight of knowing he was the reincarnation of the murderer who had taken everything from her. And every night, as she lay awake beside him, Ada asked herself one question that had no answer. Could love ever conquer a past that refused to die?